Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Nicole Petalides. It's time for the Big Three. 3 stocks, 3 charts, 3 trades. Rick Ducat will take us through the charts. Here to take us through the trades, Scott Bauer, CEO at Prosper Trading Academy. Thank you both for being here. Scott, I know you're going to be talking about Vistra. It's down 26%. I mean, we wake up this morning, you see S&P and everything to the downside, the NASDAQ in particular, right, 1,000 points at one point. Tell me a little bit about this story. Do you see opportunities, or you get nervous, or what?
I mean, this is a very major pullback. Over the last several weeks, Nicole, there has been a lot of upside buying in the VIX. Even though VIX hasn't moved a lot, there's been a lot of upside call buying. So that was, maybe a little bit of a precursor, but I'm not overly concerned. And here's the reason why. Because you look at the VIX today, and the spot VIX is up significantly, but if you look at the futures curve, if you look at, going out even just several weeks to a month to 3 months out, the VIX has not moved a lot. So this is telling me that this is, at least for right now, something that the market is very concerned about in the very short term, not necessarily down the road a little bit.
Yeah, it's not even above 20. Right? I mean, that would be sort of a telltale. Very interesting how we're digesting this. Tell me a little bit about Vistra, which is down 26% today.
Sure. So, this has been one of the charmed stocks recently in the nuclear sector here. And this, along with Oklo, some of the other stocks, just getting absolutely annihilated today. Now, I liked this a little bit earlier today. Maybe I got in a little bit too early, right around the 50-day moving average, which was right around 150 or so. The 140 area where it's trading right now, that is really the deep target pullback. So I absolutely think that there is a lot of potential, a lot of upside right here. I think we could see 180, 190 actually, if the market just kind of digests the news that's out there and things kind of get back to a little bit of a normal trading pattern, at least what we've seen over the last several weeks. I think the reward to risk on this stock specifically is really, really large.
Yeah, they talk about the DeepSeek jitters, right? Wiping out over $1 trillion in market value. I mean,
Yep.
Unless you're actually selling and losing this today, it's all on paper at the moment. And that's why traders look at opportunities for trading. Let's take a look at the charts here. Rick Ducat.
Well, nothing goes up forever. And, unfortunately, if you were bullish in this name today, could be rather painful. And, kind of like Scott said, too, we looked at this chart maybe 45 minutes or so ago on Morning Trade Live, and the situation has worsened a little bit here. So for the most part, we were traveling within this upward sloping channel type shape between our two white dashed lines there. We had a bit of an upside push, but for the most part, closing prices stayed within this range. We had a big breakout to the upside that stopped just shy of 200. Then, as I said earlier, the rug pull came. We fell below our trend line. We fell back below all these important areas. RSI collapsed from the overbought area all the way to below the 50 midline, near about 39 or so. And when we talked about this stock earlier today, we were hanging on near this trend line. Now we are pushing through to the downside through that trend line after falling below our orange 63-day exponential moving average, as well as that 50-day simple moving average that Scott mentioned. So now if we were to look at our volume areas and our standard deviation channel study, well, you can see right around here, the area that we fell through. We didn't even really trade in it because of the gap down. 160 is a notable upside area to keep an eye on now. That's where some heavy trading is. There also is heavy trading around that 140 area, like Scott mentioned, but there's a notable spike right here near 127 that matches up with the high point that we had before that gap up. That might be another downside area to watch, Nicole.
Okay, look, the fact that it's worsening and people aren't stepping in and biting and saying, wow, great opportunity, right? I mean, this is also a stock that went from $40 to nearly $200 over the last year. It's been a big mover. Final thoughts on Vistra. Scott.
Everything Rick pointed out here, absolutely I agree with. And yes, the rug pull is in. Am I looking to, catch the falling knife? No, but I'm looking at these levels here, and I think the opportunity here with a limited risk type of position, like I always put on, which I'm putting on a butterfly spread, a broken wing butterfly spread, I know what my max loss could possibly be here. I think there's tremendous upside.
Okay, next up we look at Alibaba, and some of these Chinese stocks are actually higher on the heels of the news on DeepSeek. So this name is up over 1.5% right now as we speak. Take a look here at Alibaba, which is at $90 and change.
Yeah, and like you said, some of these Chinese stocks are seeing some positive reaction here, and even started moving higher ahead of this. Over the last several weeks, if I look at like a KWEB and some of the ETFs, those have started moving higher as well. So this one seems to be in breakout mode ever since opening above the 50-day simple moving average here, and I see a breakout to 94, and it could reach that gap fill up around 100 or so. So I bought a call spread earlier this morning. I think it's a little bit higher right now. The February expiration, 90.95. The stock has moved away from there a little bit, but I really like the upside here. And this was something I liked even before today's news. If you had just been watching a lot of these Chinese stocks over the last several weeks.
Yeah, and look, Alibaba Cloud revealed some new AI tools just recently on the 22nd of January, I believe. And so that certainly grabbed people's attention. AI tools and language models to empower global developers. So it's always nice to hear some headlines like that if you're a bull out there. Let's take a look at the chart, please, Rick.
Yeah, this one is an interesting situation as well here, because we had this very extended rally here that took us up to 117. Then we had our downward sloping trend line. You could have drawn it along this point here, just kind of the general trajectory here. It was competing with a very modestly sloping upwards trend line there. So now we kind of push beyond those two areas. We've broken above all three of our moving averages in very rapid succession. Yellow 21-day, orange 63-day, purple 252-day EMAs. Notice that they're all clustered together, basically almost on top of each other, which suggests there's no clear trend directionality right now. However, the faster moving averages are starting to turn up. They're crossing above the slower moving averages right here, like our yellow crossing above our purple, 21 crossing above 252. So the trend is starting to improve. We also broke out of this falling wedge type shape between our two white dashed lines. RSI breaking out on the move to the upside, closing in on that 70 level, while price also takes out a key area as well. 90, 94, 95. Scott mentioned that. Same areas I had my eye on as well. Why? Because much like he said, this area right here that we're at right now, 90.50 or so, old high, closing price before we had our gap up, and then another stopping point there as well. But then right here, that's our relative high, 94.12. So the 95 strike makes sense. Lines up with our blue linear regression line, our line of best fit. To the downside, moving average confluence lines up with volume node near about 85.50 or so.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that. By the way, Baidu and Bauer are higher, but JD.com, Pinduoduo, those are lower today. Final thoughts, Scott, on this name, and then we'll get to Cameco.
Again, technicals are in the favor on this one here, and if this momentum can hold on for the rest of this week, maybe into next week as well, I think we hit that 95 target.
Okay, let's get to Cameco here, which right now we're seeing this one is at $50 and change. Where do you think this is headed and why?
Well, I like it right here. We're right on the 50-day, huge pullback, right on the 50-day moving average. And if you look back in time historically, this has been a really good entry point. This has been a very big line of support. Now, all things, all trends get broken at some point. Maybe this is the time that happens here. But just based on the technicals on this one, this is why I like this trade. And I'm looking at something that's a little bit shorter. This one's only going out a few weeks. February 14th expiration. Again, it's a bullish spread. I'm on the bull side today. I'm on the wish list buying side today. And I'm just buying a simple call spread, the 52.56 call spread for $1. Again, it's all about reward to risk, Nicole. It's all about opportunity. I know what my maximum downside is. I would never put anything on here that I had unlimited risk. I love the reward to risk on this one.
Okay. Your thoughts here on the chart, Rick, what do you think here? I mean, it's sort of all over the place. I mean, you do have the very clear move from 35 to 62. sort of in the middle of the 52 weeks.
Yeah, so this one is another situation where we have a downward sloping type channel shape here. We had our high point, 62.55, and here is kind of a fuzzy area. On one hand, you could draw it across the highs. On the other hand, you could draw it across the high close. I think the close is more important. In this case, it also lines up with the previous high point. It's kind of subjective. It's kind of difficult to do. Some people might draw different lines than me. We could both be right in the same way. However, this is the piece of evidence that I think backs up using the way I did it. If you take this line and duplicate it and put it across these closes, it matches up pretty decently along all the closing prices. You'd be surprised how often it can play out like that. Nevertheless, we have held the line above our previous low. I did not, unfortunately, have that 50-day SMA, but I do have the purple 252-day SMA. We didn't quite touch that level here. We held on above that point. However, we did break through the confluence of our 21 and 63-day EMAs, which are right on the top of each other near about 50-80 or so. RSI, another kind of rug pull type situation here where it looked like we were primed for a breakout, but we have collapsed back within our boundaries of our red trend line and below that 50 midline. So now if we were to assess the situation with the heavy trading areas and the standard deviation levels of interest, well, you can see we were right near our volume profile point of control, 5150, area of heaviest trading. A lot of heavy volume near where things are trading right now, but this area sticks out for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Old lows, 252-day EMA, plus volume node as well. So 48 to the downside looks key. And then as for Scott's trade, I mean, 52 to 56, basically just right here, looking for a push above today's highs and to fill that gap then as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Good to see you on all of these charts, Rick Ducat. Scott Bauer, last thought.
Last thought is, you know what, if you're a trader, this is a phenomenal market right now. If you're just an investor and you're just kind of watching the market, don't get, over depressed today on something like this. This is a very small pullback on the rally that we have seen recently. I think, albeit not necessarily a healthy pullback just because it's happening all at once, the bottom line is these things are going to happen. And if you look at the longer term fundamentals, and I'm not just talking about AI because that's in the spotlight today. I think if you look at the longer term fundamentals here with earnings so far kicking off really, really positively in guidance here, I think the market's going to be okay.
Okay, Scott Bauer, Prosper Trading Academy, and Rick Ducat there on the charts for the big three. Really appreciate it. A good look at Vistra, Alibaba, and Cameco.